Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the New Fashioned Conservatives podcast. I'm your host, Justin Phillips, and with me, as always, the man on a plan to get his free burger, Shadow Governor Voss.
Robin Voss's strongest soldier.
And so we want to start off tonight by just thanking all the listeners who've talked to us over the past couple days, weeks. It's super cool to be out at events and hear folks come up to me and say that they listen to the show, they like the show. So if you ever want to send a topic to us, you have a thought you want to share, our DMs are open, and we'd love to hear from the audience and looking forward to it. So with that, let's get into it. We are currently sitting in a dry basement right now doing this podcast, and I know that's not the same for everyone. You know, we had a lot of flooding earlier this week, and what really stands out to me is how Tony Evers handled the flooding. And first thing we'll talk about is obviously that he declared a disaster area for Milwaukee County only, kind of left Waukesha hanging. Not surprising that he goes to the left-leaning area first. Still a little frustrating. But there was some politics involved in this, wouldn't you say, Shadow Gov?
Well, there was a little bit of politics. First of all, you know, I am all for politicking. So, like, when the Dems do it, like, I understand. You know, I'm a hack, so I understand when they do it. You know, Tony Evers going around the neighborhoods with David Crowley, showing him the ropes, baby, someday for, you know, maybe when David Crowley runs for governor here.
Yeah, you put on your wellies and a flannel shirt and a vest. And I saw whoever's picking out Tony Evers' wardrobe, putting him in a visor was a really
choice,
really poor one.
I mean, we're not like at the beach or something. Like, I don't know.
He's not Guy Fieri.
You're not, I mean, what? Golfing, playing tennis?
Yeah.
This is a disaster.
Maybe it was his pickleball visor.
Probably. But nonetheless, obviously, the flooding across the southeast is obviously horrible. Mm-hmm. Terrible situation for all those involved. You know, I even had people that I know. I think we probably all have someone that we know that had some amount of flooding. Now, some of it varying in severity. But that being said, very interesting that this is probably the single largest environmental disaster that has happened in Wisconsin, at least in recent memory.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a state of emergency. Evers did call for a state one for the entire state.
Just recently.
But then on top of all of that, so I mean, we're talking this isn't just, I mean, I hope the governor doesn't take calling a state of emergency lightly. But then CBS 58 put out a post and said, we reached out to the governor for a comment, and they just directed him to the tweet, which is just basically a short way of saying, I don't want to comment. My staffers' little Twitter post that they put out is suffice enough.
Look, we all know he's a lame duck. We all know he'd rather be playing pickleball, eating ice cream with Joe Biden, and not doing the work of being a governor, but at least fake it.
I didn't expect it to be like the 2 weeks after. Like, I'm trying not to, as much of a hack as I am, it's a little, like, I could see both sides of it, like, oh, I don't want to make something political or whatnot, but like, dude, you're the governor. You just called a state of emergency. I think you can offer a few comments of your own.
Yeah.
Even if it's like canned, generic talking points or whatever, like, oh, this is horrible, you know, you had to get, like, I don't know. I don't think it paints a super great look. No, especially in the tragedy.
It's lazy. And, you know, maybe he could at least say, and here's David Crowley to talk about things as he puts his arm around him. Because I noticed that, you know, the governor did thank the county executive for his leadership as we worked together to respond to damage from storms over the weekend. And that was retweeted by Karine John Cuddebeck. So you have to wonder if there's a little bit of politics going on with who should be stepping up to fill the role as governor, because I just looked this up on the other side. Sara Russell Rodriguez, Her campaign account has tweeted once since August 9th, and none of it had to do with the flooding. So David Crowley is in an area of the Milwaukee County that was Sara's district when she was in an assembly for one term. She's not even there. She's being sent at the time. I think she was touring businesses in northern Wisconsin. So the governor's office said, we need to get you as far away from where the cameras are as possible. You need to be punished for jumping the gun on my announcement and go tour a business 5-6 hours away
was
from
it on
where
the official side?
Well, it was on the official side, but then she had a quote unquote campaign event in Milwaukee, pandering with a bunch of veterans, doing a listening session, showing that she actually cares about them, which is just silly at this point, especially when you still have the flooding stuff going on, that she's doing that. And again, doesn't have.
You think that's like a prime opportunity to
yeah.
As devastating as a tragedy is, the Democrats take advantage of every tragedy for political reasons. Why wouldn't, she lives in Brookfield. She's from Brookfield. Brookfield abuts right up with Milwaukee County. I'm sure there's plenty of flooding in Brookfield. You could easily say, oh, I was there. I was in the community. Well, we'll continue the good work that Tony Evers is doing right now when I'm governor.
Yep,
it's pretty simple.
Instead,
and it's good press.
Instead, she's in Marionette talking about housing and affordable housing. Then she does this event with veterans in Milwaukee, stays far away from the cameras as possible. Just a huge mistake by her official staff and probably her campaign staff. I don't know which one gets the full blame.
Well, but Milwaukee's going to need a lot of affordable housing because there are a lot of houses. I think I read a stat that because there's a very convoluted process on how FEMA actually gets involved. And the Journal wrote an article, and they said something like almost 11% of all of the claims that they received were total losses. So not just I had a little bit of water in my base, the house is a total loss. There's
been a lot of houses that, the entire basement's underwater, the structure of the basement's caving in. We've seen a lot of that. And Sara Rodriguez is in Marionette talking about that topic of affordable housing. Again, nowhere near the cameras. Terrible staff work by her side. Again, either her official side or her campaign side to not stand up for her candidacy.
You can't even do a tweet.
Yeah. And exactly. Couldn't even say my thoughts are with the folks facing flooding. Just totally
her
brain dead.
Has been live for 3 weeks. And it's so far 2 bad weeks, 1 okay week, I suppose.
Yeah, this is clearly just an absolute disaster so far.
But like any other environmental disaster, the libs have got to, of course, twist it into making it into about climate change. And, of course, socialism and communism, seizing the means of production.
So
closely related.
I saw failed stand-up comedian Kristen Bray wrote a laughably dumb article for the Journal Sentinel on this. That's not even worth talking about. But she was easily one-upped by a member of the Milwaukee Common Council.
Yeah. Now, that's pretty hard to usually do. Usually Kristen Bray is kind of the punching bag as far as the Journal Sentinel and such. But Milwaukee Alderman Alex Brower gave his solution to the climate crisis because of the flooding. Of course, I'm sure, his uppity East Side district got hit really, really hard, I'm sure. But this is what he had to say. Just a real quick 20-second clip.
In this room, but it's worth just repeating that when it comes to the climate crisis, democracy, as Thea, you were talking about earlier, democracy is the solution. Socialism is the solution, right? The liberals out there want to, have regulation. They want to go around with the clipboard police and pretend that we can actually regulate these companies when we know that the only solution is to bring industry under public and worker ownership.
So we're seizing the means of production here.
Saying the quiet thing out loud.
Well, and so the funny thing about this guy is that, so he's brand new. He won a contested primary in the Jonathan Brostoff seat.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, Jonathan Brostoff, Milwaukee alderman, took his own life, and so the seat has been vacant. So he won a contested primary, and actually, he beat the Milwaukee mayor's endorsed candidate. So I think they were the last two.
So
the socialist candidate won out, and now we have this.
So the area, if I recall correctly, is like River West, the Lower East Side,
Brady Street.
So like the hippiest the old school hippiest part of the city of Milwaukee, and then again the dirtiest, grungy millennial liberal part of the city.
I mean, he probably represents the district well.
Oh, no doubt. But to say the quiet thing out loud and say that we need to seize industry because, the people that came before him that were trying to save the whales via clipboard and stop nuclear proliferation didn't do their job. That's hilarious to me. That like this level of ineptitude and idiocy has made its way onto the council here.
But enough about the environment.
Yeah.
Enough about that. We have a number of candidate related kind of stories. A lot of just a hodgepodge. Just a hodgepodge of random things. So first of all, Will Martin, we've talked a few times.
We've talked a lot about Will.
Yes, we talked about him last week because the state fair, the Milwaukee GOP did the state fair straw poll. We did very well.
Yes, I believe the final tally had him tied at
with
270. Yep, 270 votes with Eric Hovde.
Correct.
And we kind of chalked Eric Hovde's showing in that straw poll up to recency bias, having just been on the ballot. But Will Martin, like I said, he is one of the hardest working guys. He's a guy who puts on the jersey and is one of the best team players that the Republican Party has in the state of Wisconsin right now. We're going to see him across the state. He's going to go to every, county caucus. He's going to go to every Lincoln Day dinner that we have. I'm sure he's going to spend all the rest of this year and next year shaking hands at county fairs at the Republican Party booth because he is going to be a candidate for lieutenant governor.
Yeah, he's running again. Obviously ran last cycle, took third in a very crowded field of I can't remember. I think I say it's a different
six
number.
Or seven.
6 or 7. I'm pretty sure it was like 12.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Now we're going to have to look this up because we name
I literally pick a
candidates?
different number every time because I can never remember. But I'm fairly certain it was something like 12. Or it might have been even like 14 just because of the David King, Cindy Werner, Kyle Yudes of the worlds that...
Jonathan Wichman.
Yep. So there was just a ton of people.
But if he can get out there right now and he can spend the next couple of months running without another candidate, I think he's got a real chance to be in line for that top position, or that second position, that is to say.
So it's interesting with lieutenant governor because it does show that if you do, it's one of those positions where you can just outwork people and get good traction. Now, obviously, money helps, but Will worked very hard last cycle, got a lot of attention. He has this interesting appeal up north, where a lot of people like him up north a lot. And then I'm not saying it's just odd, but he would meet with them up there, and and they believed in him, and so he got a lot of pull from up north. And on a slightly different note, you can definitely see this. For example, Cindy Werner, which is probably more of a fringe candidate, who will probably run again, or at least I would assume so.
Yeah.
She even won a county.
Yeah, that's
in northwestern Wisconsin in the previous primary. Now she took fourth, I believe. So it does show that you can work hard and win, or at least come close. Now, obviously, last cycle, State Senator Patrick Teston, as well as Roger Roth, took 1 and 2 because they had a little bit more money, a little bit more of a constituency. But that being said, we'll see what the field looks like this cycle. And I'm assuming that Will probably announce soon.
I'm not ready to necessarily call him the front runner, but I don't know if you could have a higher name ID without being elected at some level. So I think barring another state senator getting in the race, I could see him being the top guy.
Yeah, and I know we kind of discussed this and maybe we didn't discuss this, but I can't remember. The only thing that I think would potentially be an issue is if, who knows how crowded the governor field will be, but if we have another Jonathan Wickman situation where ran for governor, dropped down to lieutenant governor.
And you're going to have, as you said, it's going to be a crowded field. I think there's going to be several terminally online candidates that maybe got some play early on last session or last cycle that can do it again. I know Jonathan Wickman got a few endorsements, but those are from people who seem to like have a thing on their website where it says, I will endorse you. Just click these two buttons and sign up for my my podcast or sign up to be on my mailing list.
Well, the thing is Jonathan Wickman actually had like a kind of a legitimate following too.
Yeah.
Like during the COVID stuff, he actually had a pretty legitimate following.
Because he had started
smaller, but
he was leading the charge on what I thought was a poor decision, but a decision to attempt to recall Governor Evers over the COVID stuff that took place. So that goes pretty far back. But he had that name ID there. I think Jonathan Wickman was able to capture a section of the fringe voter on the Republican side. I think you'll see someone like that again, but I think Will Martin can really take the center right road, the candidate we can coalesce behind. I think he's got a good chance to win it, and I think even if he doesn't, and I hope I'm rooting for him like anyone else. I think he would make a great secretary, someone in the administration. He's again, talk about a guy who he's not going to be outworked. And someone who's a team player. He's the right guy for a lot of positions. I hope LG works out for him, but we'll see what the candidate field comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of, I really hate this time where it's like we are in between everything right now. We are this is the lull.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it ramps up, it's just going to be 100 miles an hour. Well, maybe not totally, but we'll have a little break probably during the holiday season. But probably right after that, it's going to be balls to the wall.
Yep.
And it's going to be just governor news all day, every day. It's going to be people sniping at each other. Hopefully not Republicans. Hopefully that's just the Democrats sniping at each other. But
though there are a few candidates that have been rumored for other positions that I can't say for certain yet because I haven't talked to them. I know I did reach out to a representative from the area right here where we are to see if she would be considering a run for lieutenant governor, and she said polite pass on it. Even though there were a few people trying to draft her.
I did see that.
Yeah. So she's going to take a polite pass on that one. And like I said, right now, Will Martin, the declared candidate for lieutenant governor. But we should talk about a candidate for governor on the Dem side. Because we are starting to see not just Sara Russell Rodriguez get in the race, not just David Crowley, but their field is starting to take shape a bit more with a couple of fringe candidates right here. And I saw this one, and I don't necessarily know how to pronounce the guy's name because, quite frankly, I thought it was Strand, and it was just misspelled. And I searched everywhere to find out that
Stand. What if the R is silent? I don't know. Are R's
Sternad? So I found this
Sterned. Sternad.
We'll find out. But he's announcing this Wednesday, 2 p.m., August 20th, that can't even find his name. Ryan Sternad is going to be running for governor. Now, people might not know who Ryan is, but if you've been to a game at American Family Field or Miller Park or County Stadium, he's been selling you beer. So a new Democrat candidate for Wisconsin governor is a beer salesman at Miller Park. He also claims that he's been politically active, getting involved in the Union Workers United, as well as founding his own political action committee and lobbying group, Drinks in the seats. So maybe he's trying to carve out the Tavern League support or the beer distributors support, since his job is to distribute beer.
Well, this might be the only Democrat I can vote for. No, I'm kidding. A beer distributor, it is kind of... The funny thing is this guy would probably be... He's probably just he's a normal guy. He's obviously loves the Brewers, worked for them forever. He sells beer. If you actually had like enough money behind him and some people that actually cared enough to consult, you could actually do some damage with some Republican voters. I'm sure you could. But I bet you, I know nothing about this guy's politics. We don't know anything. This is more of just this is the Democrats' fringe candidate. That
actually second. Democrats' second fringe candidate. There's a fella who ran in the 84th Assembly District, which is, I believe that's southeastern Waukesha County. And
I think that's
is it just
Chuck Wicker's?
Is it Chuck Wicker's seat? Yeah. So and his name escapes me. I don't have it up on the notes right now, but there are a couple of fringe candidates. And the first thing I want to say about Ryan here is, I'm going to call him Ryan because I'm afraid to mispronounce his last name, considering, again, I thought he was being so disrespected that his last name was being spelled wrong across every news article. But
no, that's just how he spells his name.
Just how he spells his name. I wonder if the Brewers are going to let him campaign and sell beer next year, because, they wear those buttons.
Yeah.
It was X number, no one under 20.
I feel like you have to.
He's got to put one next to it, right? He gets the ID under 35.
And
then right below it is a Ryan for governor.
If you're the Brewers, you're like, this guy's not going to win. Just let him wear his button.
Yeah.
Let him, maybe, I don't think you can pass out lit. But what if
with a beer, right?
No, well, yeah, you put like the lit around the beer, so you give it to them.
You put the pin in the beer.
Yeah, or what if you have like hot dogs, you put like the lit underneath it, so you eat the hot. Oh, there's a piece of lit.
Yeah.
I'll just let him do it. It's fun. I like this story just because it's fun. It's. God bless him. I hope he goes in there. I hope he gets on the Democrat debate stage just because of the memes. It'd be fantastic.
I hope he wears his vendor outfit on the debate stage.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
And that's the beauty, or maybe the frustration with politics in general, is the bar to clear to be a candidate is exceptionally low, in that all you have to do is hit a few constitutionally required variables and you're on the ballot. And if he was able to circulate nomination signatures while at Miller Park while serving those beers,
that probably crosses a line.
Well, he could pull the signatures off, because Miller Park is cashless, so he could just be like, oh, by the way, instead of a tip, why don't you just sign this thing too? Yeah. So we're already campaign consulting for this guy.
There's no way I don't know how he thinks he's going to do anything, but I wish him the very best. I wish him the very best.
When the field becomes more clear, we need to absolutely have a conversation about all of the
Let's invite him on the podcast.
Yes. As long as we don't have to pay for the beer. But we need to have a whole conversation, I think, about the fringe candidates, the third parties, the also-rans, the folks that, barely squeaked by to get on the ballot, or maybe don't even get on the ballot, because I am so fascinated by folks who think that they should run for a statewide office before maybe testing the waters in a state senate district, a state assembly district, city council. Like there is something to be said about getting some experience in elected office before kind of, reaching for that higher level. And I know that's a very Wisconsin thing. It is not, every state isn't like that. Wisconsin seems to have people who get in line, and someone gets elected and then they run to be the next person up.
Well, Trump kind of popularized, these.
That's
you
true.
Don't have to be kind of the outsider stuff, which I have nothing against anyone that's a political outsider, but I do think that there is something to say about, there's a fine line. I think of someone that's been in the industry like forever and then maybe gets comfortable, too comfortable, compared to someone that is like a true public servant, understands it, you know, the ins and outs, and is a good, like a very good public servant, and it can use the experience that they have to be, you know, efficient. Because, you know, I just feel like there's a lot of people that probably get into politics thinking that they're going to shake everything up. And then they get into it like, oh, well, this is a little bit more complicated than I thought. And then they kind of like, what do I do now? So there's something to be said about, experienced legislators and experienced politicians.
That is truly I think a Wisconsin-specific thing, that there seems to be a line to get in behind the current candidate. I know a lot of other states don't have that. A lot of states, you can go from being a business owner or, Navy SEAL, what have you, just military veteran, and anybody, to being a member of Congress. That it's a bit more wide open than Wisconsin is. So,
speaking of Navy SEAls,
yes.
So
great transition.
Yeah,
you're welcome. I didn't even mean to do that.
Did you plan that?
No,
that was perfect.
No, let it go.
So Bill Berrien is in the news again, and this time he's released another position of his, and this one has got the libs angry for a change. It is regarding constitutional carry. He's just signaling that he would sign constitutional carry.
Sure.
Which, great, fantastic, very conservative viewpoint. But I think we have to also acknowledge the calculus here that Bill Berrien, since he's announced, has had a few. I mean, he's had more bad weeks than good weeks.
Indeed.
And basically, it's Bill Berrien's had the worst start to the campaign, and then Sara Russell Rodriguez.
Yep.
Okay, so not good company. So he's trying to rewrite the script. Obviously, still a long campaign. He's still got lots of time to try to bring those conservative bona fides up to par, and this would be one of them. So this one, to me, I have no problem with him advocating for this. I am all for pushing the message that this does need to become law. Even, I don't necessarily, as long as the position is correct, the intentions I care less about, but I do want to touch base on the intentions here. He's clearly feeling that he needs to.
He's feeling the heat.
He's feeling the heat. And of course, it's a primary, so you have to win primary voters, which these issues, this would be a primary. The problem is I don't think there's anyone in the primary that wouldn't support this. So, like, what is this? I think Josh Schoeman would say the same thing. I think if Representative Tiffany was in the race, he would probably say the same thing too. So, are you really differentiating yourself? I mean, that's what races are about, after all. Drawing clear contrast between candidates. That when you are voting for them, what you're getting, and that that this person is different than the person they're running against. So, I don't know. I feel like maybe you could have tried something unique to try to differentiate yourself, but at the same time, you're so far behind the eight ball, you just got to get on the board. Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take a slightly different angle, but first off, let me say that we've talked about what Bill Berrien should be doing on our prior podcast. So check that out, episode 13, on how he can right his ship without, again, staking out policy positions that may get you through a Republican primary, but may not resonate well with general election voters. And I think constitutional carry might be on that side. Now, I'm a conservative guy. I support hunting. I support people's right to carry a firearm.
I support their right to overthrow a tyrannical government.
Right, as the Second Amendment was intended. I'm also someone who personally wants a bit more firearm training, like what takes to get a CCW permit, like hunter safety, in order to feel confident around firearms. Something that actually got kicked around in the legislature several years ago was allowing firearms training to be taught in a classroom setting.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Which is actually, that bill was based on a bill from the state of Illinois. And I think that was noticed because the growing interest in trap shooting in sporting clays in a high school team setting, that allowing those those kids to get that training, to feel confident around firearms and participating in these activities, I think is very important. And personally, I don't carry. And if I was to choose to do that, I would still, even as someone who has hunted, as someone who does sporting clays with a little bit of regularity, I would want to go back and get that refresher course before I carried a firearm. And I don't think I'm that far outside the norm with, I think, as a general voter. So he's staking out a position that might be a little right of the general electorate as opposed to the primary electorate. Now, I'm not that tapped into the firearm, the gun community in Wisconsin. So if you are and you're listening to this, send us a DM, send us an email, text, what have you. Let me know if I'm outside the bounds of conservatism here, and if Bill Berrien's on the right.
Well, so I actually go back and forth on this a little bit, but my whole thing is, yes, you have a right to a firearm, but that right also comes with responsibilities, and I think a lot of the responsibilities have sometimes been lacking. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not that Milwaukee always serves as the punching bag for Republican politics, but I'll use once more. It's like, maybe it's anecdotal. Maybe it's just the fact of where we live in relation to Milwaukee. But it's like, I don't see many stories of like people being accidentally shot in Waukesha County compared to like Milwaukee County. Yeah. So it's kind of like, who is handling the fire? Are they responsible people? Are they law-abiding gun owners, stuff like that? Because obviously, yes, if you're gonna, conceal carry, or if you can constitutionally carry, you want people to do it correctly, and you want people to be safe about it, and obviously not be reckless, or stuff like that. So that's wholly comes into play when it comes to like constitutional carry. So I don't think I don't disagree with you on that point. And it is interesting, the political side of things, which I think we continue to see Bill Berrien's campaign seems to be in an untenable position where they have to be more right to even have a chance of winning the primary. But then, of course, does that jeopardize the general? But he's got a lot of work to do before he can even think about winning a general. So he's got to win the primary first.
And speaking of the primary, yesterday evening, a poll by Fabrizio Lee came out and was released to the public. And
that's Trump's pollster.
And I saw this from John Graber and Matt Henkel, two good friends of the program, sent this to us on the DMs about the first poll we've seen in the governor's primary election with Republican primary voters. The poll by Fabrizio Lee shows that Tom Tiffany has a commanding lead with Republican primary voters. So the question was asked, if the next Republican primary election for governor were held today, for which of the following candidates would you vote for? Tom Tiffany, 40%. Josh Schoeman, 13%. Bill Berrien, 10%. Undecided, 37%. So right now, Tom Tiffany shows a huge lead. And the second question that was asked, in a hypothetical endorsement from the president, expands Tiffany's lead with a majority support. Tom Tiffany initially led Schoeman 39-13. An endorsement from President Trump boosted Tiffany's lead by 21 points. In a 3-5 Republican primary voter now backing Tiffany, Schoeman and Berrien ended up in the single digits, with the number of undecideds decreasing to 29%. Really interesting stuff.
Well, it's really interesting and also not surprising. Mm-hmm. A Trump endorsement basically ends any competition in the primary.
As you would expect it to be.
I mean, we went through 2022. I don't want to have to go through that again. What a horrible experience, just all in all, that was. But Tiffany having 40%, then the next closest, Josh Schoeman, at 13%, and then a Trump endorsement pushes Tiffany to 61.
Yeah. So
and then on top of that, they lose support and undecideds. And so what? They're only left with 27, basically a quarter. I mean,
yeah,
that's
so the bottom line
shop, that's it.
In this poll is that Tom Tiffany is a solid position and a clear front runner for the Republican primary for governor of Wisconsin. An endorsement from President Trump and educating voters about Tiffany and his record would propel his lead even further, with either option essentially sealing the deal for the primary nomination. Now, we talked last week about the fact that Tom Tiffany was the first person to hint that he might not want to run for governor. And I'm not saying these two things are connected, but would it surprise you if they were, that he was waiting for this poll to come out to confirm what he thinks he already believed and that he is the assumed frontrunner in this race?
Well, it's interesting because I'm of the belief that we've all kind of assumed that these numbers were correct. Mm-hmm. Like before this poll even came out, I assumed that this was probably around the numbers that I would assume. So this isn't surprising. But what I do think interesting is, so this is Trump's pollster. So did Trump I'm assuming Trump then initiated this poll, or Trump World or Trump Orbit initiated this poll. Perhaps Tiffany did as well. But I would have to imagine this is more Trump Orbit kind of waded into the waters and just seeing, what they're hearing on the ground is the same as, what they're seeing. And I'm assuming it probably confirms some of their suspicions as well. So there's obviously, Tiffany said that, well, I'm going to announce in 30 to 60 days and by the end of September, well, we get this poll. That's
got to be one of the things.
That's got to change some things.
And, we've talked about this on the other side, and I just want to touch on this for a brief second, is that Helen Royce still seems to be like flirting with running for governor.
Yeah, just pull the trigger.
So I'm wondering if there is something that hasn't aligned in the background for her. Is there something that isn't coming together? Is it she's not going to get a national endorsement that she thought she was going to get? Is that she's not hiring? She doesn't have the opportunity to hire the right consultants, the right staff. Is there something going on that she's seeing? Again, maybe it's a poll, maybe it's consultants, maybe it's an endorsement that's holding her back because she can't jump in as the immediate frontrunner like Tom Tiffany is.
I just think it's this summer.
Do you think she's just flirting? She just wants to drag it out?
I think she just wants to drag it out. I think she wants to let Sara Russell. So are we just going to use middle names?
Sara Russell Rodriguez.
Well, you said
Kelda Helen Royce.
Yeah. So I think she's just letting Sara Russell Rodriguez kind of flop for a little bit. Realize that she's not the serious candidate, and then she's going to come in. I think she doesn't want to share any of the limelight with anybody.
Okay.
The question is Crowley going to announce first, and then she's going to have to wait more, or is she going to try to take his thunder? It'll be really interesting because I'm assuming those two will announce pretty soon in succession, and we'll see how petty they are.
And when they get in, we're going to have to break down our understanding of the schisms within the Democratic Party and Democratic voters. But talking more about Tom Tiffany today. This poll is great for him, no doubt. And this poll means that Josh Schoeman and Bill Berrien have a significant uphill climb, and they have ways to make that climb. It's not impossible for them.
But the pathways have shrunk
a little,
considerably.
Yeah. But let's not get hyperbolic about this poll. And I saw a legislator from northwestern Wisconsin, not going to necessarily call him out by name, that is already calling for the Republican Party to coalesce around a conservative candidate in Tom Tiffany. And it's a little early, I think, to crown Tom Tiffany the guy. Again, everything's lining up well for him, no doubt. But the race has been going on for a couple of months now. We are a year away from the Republican primary. I think we'll need to coalesce around that, around a candidate sooner than August. I hope it is in February to April of next year, a little bit before we get papers, and we see what the Supreme Court election and our statewide or local elections are next spring. But let's not look at one poll and declare the other two candidates completely dead.
Well, at least in that legislature, I mean, I think he also had some bias, which is fine. You know, I have no problem with politicians, you know, advocating for their friends or, you know, for people that that represent them. So I don't have a problem with that at all.
As we've said just moments ago, the state of Wisconsin seems to have people that get in line behind other people for office. And if you see an opportunity for you to be that next guy, you're going to want to advocate for that person to get out of that role.
I mean, there's the classic, the guy, the first person to endorse Trump in the state, you know, then you can wear that badge and then use that when, you know, maybe cash in that chip.
Well, did Jimmy Boy Edming in 2016 cash in that chip?
I don't know. That's a good question.
He was the first guy in 2016 to endorse Trump.
Was he really?
Yeah.
He was the first legislator, but I think that there was...
Oh, true. He was the first, legislator.
He was the first
sure.
legislator, but I think the first person to actually endorse him was Thiensville Village President Van Mobley.
Oh, okay.
I believe he was the very first one. But that's going way back, so my memory is hazy. But yeah, so I don't blame anyone for necessarily doing that. I do think we're going to have to coalesce early. And again, the longer the Dems have a contested primary and the less time that we do, obviously is better for us. How we get to that point will be interesting. I don't know. I mean, I guess my question, how about this? Forget everything I've said. Does Trump endorse?
I don't think he endorses until sometime between February and April of next year, if that's the point where we can coalesce. And let me tell you why. I think Bill Berrien, being a Navy SEAL, gives him an inside line to President Trump via DVO and DVO's campaign staff and political staff, who are now working for President Trump. So I think you're going to have a couple people on each shoulder whispering in Trump's ear what to do and who to endorse. And I think he's going to wait on it. But I think behind the scenes, again, off camera, hopefully, there's going to be some indication that, yes, we got to thin the field. There's some people who maybe aren't going to be able to pull it off in a general. We got to get behind someone. And again, don't hear what I'm not saying. I still think Josh Schoeman and even Bill Berrien have a shot. I saw a couple posts on Facebook recently, and I was reading some of the comments, and I saw people who are endorsing Bill Berrien, and they're old school heavyweights that are getting behind Bill in Waukesha County. So you see that where he's going to get a path from. I think you can see where Josh Schoeman can get a path from, and obviously where Tom Tiffany has one from. So I'm not ready to crown Tom Tiffany.
I'm not necessarily ready to crown anyone. I'm just saying the 22 experience scarred me for life, and I just never want that ever to happen again. I never want to have that happen again and just there's something like carnal inside me that awakens when I have to think about the Governor Evers and Michael's debates. They were just left so much on the bone. Tony Evers he's so bad at debating.
Who would ever have thought that a prom date would factor so heavily into a statewide gubernatorial race, and how much that...
If you can't hear it, I'm rolling my eyes.
And how I see your frustration.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the next couple of weeks shake out for Representative Tiffany, and how Bill Berrien can, maybe make that comeback. Maybe starts listening to us. Maybe starts listening to the program here. We've got that $1 worth of free advice waiting to go for him. And of course, Josh Schoeman is genuinely working hard. Like he's doing small events. He's doing big events. He's meeting with groups on their terms. He's not doing it as fundraisers. He was actually at what I would call a dive bar here in the area.
I wish more people campaigned.
Yeah.
I just do bar crawls.
Yeah. And he's kind of, he was at a true dive bar that has a little, among other things, has a little sign on the door that says cash only, ATM inside. So you know where they're at. I also think he's a really good guy. So I think there's a path for him still. I think there's a path for Bill Berrien even. But I don't want to get behind this idea that we need to coalesce behind one candidate already. But an area where the Democrats aren't coalescing around one candidate, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, that Randy Bryce down in the Racine area running against Brian Stile turned in probably some of the most pathetic numbers we've seen from a congressional candidate.
From a Democrat.
And the worst numbers he's ever put up in his career as a grifter and perennial candidate. So the window for him is closed.
Yeah, the time of Randy Bryce and the Iron Stash and the Twitter clout, it's just Twitter clout at this point.
Yeah.
That's it. You look like a union guy, but you suck at fundraising. And he got raised by Brian Stile 40-1. Mm-hmm. Raised like $25,000, and meanwhile Brian Stile's sitting on a couple mil, couple millies in the bank, and
I don't think
so. Yeah, Randy Bryce is done.
I don't think anyone is going to rate the Brian Stile race as toss up. I think that's
absolutely not.
That's a solid red. Not
well,
was it lean, not toss up? What's between lean and
so lean is like I would say anything between 0 and 3. And then everything after 3, between 3 and like 6 is likely.
There you go.
And then
Well,
3 to 8, and then everything basically R+8 I would consider as solid.
So we'll say it likely. It's a likely GOP seat.
Well, the thing is it's a likely GOP seat because it's Brian Stile.
Yeah.
If it's not Brian Stile and you have a generic Republican, it's probably like a lean Republican. Mm-hmm. So that just is a testament to the hard work that Brian Stile has put in over the years to make it into such. I will never love looking at the results of Brian Stile absolutely destroying Peter Barca by more than 10 points, which I just didn't even think was possible. Mm-hmm. So.
And it's proof that he is a good campaigner and a good congressman for that district. We saw it a couple weeks ago when he was holding town halls and able to handle himself better than 99% of people would when you have clowns pushing pro-Gaza messaging and shouting him down about the fake news coming out of the Gaza Ministry of Health. And that's a whole separate thing, but the DCCC saw the writing on the wall with the Iron Stash, knew he was going to embarrass the Democratic Party in the state of Wisconsin, and they found someone new.
They found some new bait.
Yes,
to feed
some new fodder.
To feed the Brian Stile campaign machine.
So Mitchell Berman, a political newcomer, announced his bid for the congressional seat earlier this week. He introduced himself as a Veterans Affairs and Emergency Room nurse, a first-generation college graduate, and union member from the village of Raymond.
So
cool.
The only thing that I was going to add is, who?
Yeah.
Who? Is there an owl in here? An echo? Who is that? So the Democrats have gotten so desperate that they're literally just picking people off the street and just throwing them in, say, hey, we need a candidate, and there's no way we're being Brian Stile if we don't have a bajillion dollars and the district's heavily modified in our advantage. So let's just pick this random guy. I mean, I wish I had more analysis for you. They said everything. He's a nurse, first of all. Male nurses, questionable to begin with. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all, folks.
I happened to catch a couple comments on, I think it was the Journal Sentinel article, introducing Mitchell Berman, and he was wearing an American flag head thing, and I'm not in the medical field. The head covering was American flag,
a scarf, but for your head.
There were people in there who were saying that was too much for them. It made him look too moderate, if not a suspiciously Republican candidate.
The utter state of the Democrat Party.
That they can't vote for someone who shows even the slightest microscopic iota of patriotism.
Well, it's even worse than that. So that's stereotypical, like Democrats don't have American flags outside their houses and stuff like that, which kind of is true unless you're like 80 years old and you grew up with like FDR as your president and stuff like that. Then some of those people still have American flags.
Like the Toby Keith Democrats that don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
R.I.P. him.
Yeah, far and few between. That being said, so it's funny you bring that up because I do remember seeing this. I just totally forgot about it. They posted, someone took a screenshot from, I'm assuming, his Facebook, and it was him with someone else. No identifiable markers, just him wearing like a leather jacket. That was really it. And they said he looks like a MAGA type. Probably because he looked like, quote unquote, a biker.
Yeah. Just he looks like a normal guy.
Yeah, he just looks like a normal guy. But the fact that he was wearing clothes that they could even loosely tie to something that you could caricature as MAGA, they're like, I don't think he's actually a Democrat because he doesn't have blue hair. He doesn't look like he's neurotic or
There's no,
on SSRIs or something.
No,
therefore, he's
no
not
nose piercings.
Gosh, the Democrat voter base. I mean, Republicans have our own issues with primary voters, but holy cow, if you can't even like wear a leather jacket without moderately looking like you don't, live in a yuppity East Side apartment on, the East Side of Milwaukee or something, like their voter base is absolutely cooked. Well,
Brian Style has to be happy.
So what if Rainey Bryce actually wins the primary then? That would be the most hilarious outcome. Because it seems like this guy seems like the guy for the Democrats. At least that's the way I'm seeing it. And so the funniest outcome is that Rainey Bryce, who actually he looks like a stereotypical MAGA voter now because he's got the mustache, union worker, stuff like that. But because of his left-wing bona fides, it would be hilarious if he actually won the primary.
Yeah.
So we'll
there's a lot of candidates.
We'll watch that.
A lot of races starting to come into view. Obviously happy to give us our takes here. And again, thank you to the listeners who immediately DM'd us information on that polling, and so happy. Again, we're getting that feedback from the audience immediately that they're paying attention and want us to talk about it. So love that. There is something I want to talk about coming out of the legislature that is hilarious. And as soon as I saw this posted by, I believe it was Dan O'Donnell, I immediately texted a handful of my friends who work in the legislature asking if this was the full story, if there are any other emails or screenshots of things going on in the Democrat Latinx Caucus. That is what it's called. I say Latinx, that's what we call it.
I don't think I've ever heard it called Latinx, but I do kind of like it just because of the...
So Sylvia Velez Ortiz is upset with the Hispanic Latinx Democrat colleagues. And Shadow, tell us all about this.
So if you read between the lines here a little bit, so it looks like there was a recognizing and proclaiming September 15th to October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month.
So I first have a bone to pick with the timing of this.
Yeah, why not just
mid-month to mid-month?
Why not just have like all of September or all of October?
Yeah, I need some background on that one. But the Hispanic Caucus released this resolution recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month, and it's something that legislatures do. They vote on these resolutions. It's super common to throw a bunch out there, but Representative Ortiz Velez was a little
heated.
Yeah.
Well, so originally there was a number of legislators on that list, all of Hispanic descent, I'm assuming. Now, Representative Ortiz Velez is definitely also of that variety. And so she sent a message to that resolution, replying all, so everybody sees that, saying, I am shocked and disappointed I was not included after I was promised I would be. And I would represent the only and I represent the only minority Hispanic district in the state of Wisconsin. By excluding me, it's not only an insult to me, but my entire district, and I will not tolerate being silenced. So...
Really got her finger on the pulse of her district, caring about resolution for Heritage Month.
But for Democrats, that's kind of everything. So, like, I can understand why she would feel slighted by this. But the problem is like, this is like so in the weeds on the Democrat side. Mm-hmm. There's got to be something going on, like behind the scenes, that tells more of the story. Now, that being said, Representative Ortiz Velez has sided with Republicans on stuff before. She's kind of seen as a black sheep here. So that being said, there's more to the story. Then Representative Prado, who I believe was the chief assembly author, took to Facebook.
So that's a representative on Facebook.
Yes, this is a representative.
Because you're going to read this and you're going to wonder if it's actually a representative. I thought this was a staffer, quite frankly, that had some nerve saying this.
This is a representative who represents part of Milwaukee, I'm assuming.
Sure.
Let's see. Let's share. So she said this. Let's share some facts. This resolution was introduced as a caucus. I'm assuming the Hispanic caucus. And we agreed as a caucus that only caucus members would author it. Number 2, Representative Ortiz Velez had the option to join the Wisconsin Hispanic Legislative Caucus and chose not to join. 3, the resolution hasn't been introduced yet. Any member of the assembly is and can sign on as a co-sponsor. She hasn't been left out yet. They forgot the T and forgot the space in between. Hasn't and been. Number 4, how old are we? Enough with the BS. I was once told by the very own Rep. Ortiz Velez, why would I include you if you didn't do any of the work?
Wow.
Let's just leave that to say.
That is a shot fired.
So that's that was brewing. That seems like there was something brewing under the surface for a while. And I am totally here for it spilling out into the public.
I am as well. So even better than this, Representative Priscilla Prado and Representative Ortiz Velez border each other on their districts. They are right next to each other. And it gets funnier because shortly after, at 9:22 p.m., a legislative all email was sent from Sylvia Ortiz Velez asking people to co-sponsor her joint resolution recognizing September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in Wisconsin. So the timing of this is incredible. Like 9:22 p.m., you're still trying to get this out the door.
Oh, 100%. And you know, I can't claim credit for this, but I believe the great Eric Brooks said this, that State Senator Rachel Cabral Caveira can do the funniest thing right now by sponsoring that in the Senate. And then just a bunch of Republicans sign on to her version. That would be the funniest outcome. Probably not good for Rep. Ortiz Velez and her caucus. And clearly she's shown to break with her party, but now seems to be actively antagonizing them. So
I need to know where Jesse Rodriguez is on this.
I don't know. I guess we'll see.
We'll see which one she sponsors. Because I would love it if our Latina members of the Republican caucus, Hispanic members of the Republican caucus, pick a side on this one. So they could do, again, like Eric Brooks said, the funniest thing.
Well, they should bring it to the floor for discussion. I mean, usually Democrat bills, Democrat resolutions don't often make it very far. This would be an opportunity. If I'm Republican leadership, I said, you know what? Let's offer a bone up. Let them have it. Just to listen to the floor speeches alone would be entertaining.
Just sit back like we have right now, a nice bourbon, and just enjoy the
cat fight.
Okay. Yes, enjoy the cat fight.
But there's more.
Go on.
to the Capitol.
Okay, more at the Capitol.
There's more at the Capitol. Sorry.
We're going to have more on this. Well, those sponsorship windows for those resolutions end next week. And
yes,
I would love
correct.
to see, what we need to look for first is a side-by-side of both of those Hispanic Awareness Month resolutions to see if they're just
like the actual text.
Yeah, the actual text. We're going to have to look at those, and then we're going to have to see which one gets more co-sponsors and how many Republicans are willing to jump in on this fight.
I think it'd be hilarious if they did. But so another thing that kind of went under the radar, I kind of forgot about it. But so this was a tweet from Dan Lennington from Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. So this is a screenshot. The Evers administration is implementing pay raises for state employees without first submitting them to the Joint Legislative Committee, citing a Supreme Court ruling nixing lawmakers' powers to block stewardship purchases. So for the past 5 decades, administrators have been required to submit proposed changes in the compensation plan to the Joint Committee on Employment Relations for approval before implementing them. So interesting. So Evers kind of did this on a whim. Let's see. Today's Friday, so this would have been Wednesday. This originally happened. So Dan Lennington said, "You get a raise, and you get a raise." Governor Evers, without any oversight, loads up state workers with the raises. O and UW did the same today, brought to you by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. So, again, without getting into the legalese of everything, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, liberal controlled now, of course, took some liberty here and basically is thwarting legislative oversight with the lawsuit because there was, despite the stewardship program originally being approved in the budget, but it wasn't approved in the Joint Finance Committee. Therefore, the money wasn't actually released, despite it being approved in the budget. They sued over that, and now they won. So basically, with this much latitude, they could probably say they don't have to listen to any legislative oversight. And this, well, maybe not any, but certainly they are doing their very best to consolidate as much power as they can inside the governorship and the executive administration. And they've done a good job at it because although this might not seem like a huge deal, honestly, these decisions are bigger than any of the redistricting decisions that were, put out. It genuinely threatens the separation of powers, the checks and balances. The legislature, the legislature has a lot of power. They are also the most democratized body, so they have natural checks and balances. But this is a direct attack on those checks and balances. And another thing, to any governor candidates out there on the Republican side, assuming we win, which obviously is a big assumption,
but one we're hoping for.
One we're hoping for. But even if not this cycle, when we win, the odds of probability state that we will win eventually. I hope a governor uses all of the decisions by the Supreme Court of Wisconsin and exploits them to the T. I would love a world where the Democrats are suing the Republican governor for overreaching legislative authority. It would be an amazing day. It would be an amazing day. So I hope the Republican governor fully uses it just because to show the sham that this whole legislative oversight, suing over the legislative oversight, it's just an absolute travesty that it happened, and I hope a Republican governor exposes it for what it is, but also fully maximizes the political impact. I mean, I can't even fathom some of the gray area that you can use, but what if, the Democrats win like one of the chambers and those committees are split now? And well, if you don't have to listen to the committees, who the hell cares who's in the legislature? You're the executive branch. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, they've really seemed to have seized on a lot of power here, and No, it would be really interesting. Again, we've seen this at the federal level. Donald Trump is moving at such a lightning pace that liberals, by the time they react to something that he's done, he's already on to the next thing, and doing it so amazingly that I hope that a Republican candidate for governor and a Republican governor look at that and be like, we can do faster. We can do more. And then forced the Supreme Court into position to either look hypocritical and undo a ruling that they created because they don't want Republicans to do it, and then just, again, make a sham of the court, which I wouldn't put it past them to do. Or, again, be hoisted on their own petard and have to deal with the fact that Republicans are going to play by the rules that the Democrats created.
Fully agree. Fully agree.
Speaking of playing by the rules that were created, weird transition, I know, but there was a Waukesha County charter school that was unable to open recently and was shut down by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, which had authorized its charter.
So normally you would assume, well, this is a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
A charter school? We love charter schools.
You would think the left would be jumping with joy, showing that there isn't the response and support for a charter school in Pewaukee that usually comes from the schools. And in fact, the Autumn Hill Academy said the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, which authorized the school's charter, informed the school by email on August 5th that it won't allow the school to open because it had a smaller student population than expected enrollment. Enrollment was supposed to be 35 to 50 students this year, and I think it was like a 6 to 10 grade range with expansion to 11th and 12th over the next couple of years. UW-Milwaukee said Autumn Hill has fallen seriously short of contracted minimum enrollment numbers of 168 students. I mean, it's on the high side, 110 off.
35 to 50 students this year, so that sounds like they have 35 students.
Yeah,
so
at most.
They haven't even met, it's not even close. Not even a quarter, not even a fifth.
Why are we talking about a charter school closing or failing to open? Well, this was supposed to be an LGBTQ charter school, which wasn't mentioned in any of the articles that were written about it. There were 32 kids enrolled across 5 grades. They received massive grants from DPI and only managed to get this small group of students. So maybe there isn't a demand for charter schools that prioritize left-leaning, progressive gender ideology as opposed to what's actually being taught in traditional public schools right now, which is left-leaning gender ideology at the expense of traditional math, reading, writing.
Well, this is the free market, free marketing. Clearly there isn't a market. Mainly, and I know you've already alluded to this, it's if you want your LGBTQ, your gendered nonsense, left-wing ideology infused in your daily curriculum, there's plenty of public schools that do that already.
That's super funny to me.
So it is kind of ironic that here's this school that's going to be very specialized. I mean, the thing is because I had kind of known about this story, just somewhat, just a little bit. I wanted to see it as a test case.
Yes, 100%.
Just like it is a petri dish of left-wing ideology, just infused probably at daily, every waking moment.
So part of me wanted
to see that.
Part of me wanted the school to, quote unquote, succeed, because pulling those far left-wing kids or the far left-wing parents especially out of traditional public schools would have been such a boon to the remaining kids in those public schools, and so helpful to the parent-teacher associations and whatnot that are trying to do the best work they can for kids and don't want to do land acknowledgement for 7 minutes and kneel for George Floyd and other deaths of black men at the hands of police officers that were really just criminals doing criminal things.
What their academics were.
Yeah,
are their academic? Because come on.
Yeah, it was a lot of 2 + 2 = gay.
Yeah, like that their academics were going to suffer.
Yeah.
Or that they would just be like DPI and probably cook the books.
Yeah, right, and even better, you could have pulled those left-wing teachers out of traditional classrooms and put them with students that they needed. That
see, but this is the thing though. Is I'm not saying every left-wing teacher is like this, but those left-wing teachers that you're thinking about think like this, where they feel like they need to quote unquote evangelize to people that aren't in that viewpoint. And so the public school is the perfect opportunity to get the normies, the kids that aren't in the rainbow jihad, the kids that aren't indoctrinated. And so then they just slowly over time, I'm doing a service. I am a moral and righteous person, and you need to know more about this. So I'm going to inject my ideology into the classroom and convert those children to
maybe we just
leftism
need to take those kids from their schools and force them into this school so we can make things better in the public schools. And then we can see what the athletics would be like in those schools.
Oh, my Lord.
And what the cheer squad would look like. Or no one really wants to see that, but, it keeps those kids out of traditional public schools. And, you could have the Minnesota Vikings cheerleaders or Carolina Panthers cheerleaders come and do routines with them and keep that out of, normal schools.
So my final take on this, well, it's not even a take, but my final thought on this story is I'm sad it's over.
Yeah.
I'm sad. I wanted to see it happen, and it's not going to even happen.
I came into the show and thinking we'd just dance on this grave, go ha ha ha, look at the free market doing its job. I'm 180. I wish the school would have opened.
Yeah,
I wish it would have had more kids, and I would love to see what the next years of that school would be like. Again, land acknowledgements, pledges to the gay flag. How many gendered restrooms would you have? This would probably be one of the schools that actually has litter boxes for restrooms. I know that was there was such an urban legend that spun out of control, especially among the boomer retired teachers. But this is a place that would have those sort of things.
I could see it.
Yeah, the football team would be just a lot of centers.
There wouldn't be a football team. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So
football team is too massive.
Maybe Autumn Hill will do a bit more recruiting.
I'm praying for you, Autumn Hill.
Yeah. To whatever gay version of gods or deities they have. So with that, I think there is one more thing we got to touch on quickly. I tweeted about this earlier in the week. I think the feud between DVO and Mark Pocan has gone too far. Now, for those who missed it, a fake account was created earlier this week to make fun of Representative Van Orden's daughter, Sydney, who passed away several years ago.
Several? It was last year.
Was it that recently?
Yeah.
I'm reading from the tweet here. So do you want me to reread that?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I thought I could be completely wrong, but I thought it was actually pretty recent. I think it was while he's been in Congress.
I thought so too. But
needless to say,
bank account was created to make fun of Representative Van Orden via his daughter. So they were sending messages out there to Derek from this fake account. I mean, it's vile. What I didn't see though is Mark Pocan denouncing these Facebook posts or this fake account, and that I said it on X. I'm not accusing I'm not accusing Mark Pocan or someone in Mark Pocan's orbit of doing this, but it would not surprise me if Mark Pocan or someone in his orbit, after a few too many sea breezes, created this account.
It's a shame that I know we make fun of kind of the interactions they have, but and I'm really hoping that it's not someone in the camp. I'm hoping it's some lowlife that has nothing else better to do than to make fun of dead children.
Yeah, I mean the left is well known for doing unconscionable shit.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
And I hope, again, this needs to come to a head. The undercard fight, the UFC fight on the White House lawn, next year needs to be Derek Van Orden with one arm tied behind his back against Mark Pocan, and they can settle it there, and loser leaves town. Just full on WWE stipulations. Whoever loses that fight has to retire from Congress and delete their Twitter account. X account.
That's honestly probably the bigger implication. You can stay in Congress, but you have to delete your X account.
But if there's an amount of money that needs to make this happen, I'm willing.
I'll donate.
Yeah. I'll start that GoFundMe, that Caring Bridge or whatever.
The proceeds of the show will go to the non-existent dollars.
But just a frustrating, pathetic attempt by some mentally disturbed person on the left, that left-wing incel Mark Pocan supporter doing something like this. Just pathetic. But we do have some candy to talk about.
It should be pretty obvious.
Yes. As of this recording.
Or maybe we should call it not candy, but burger time.
Well, as of this recording, let me tell you the most important sports story going on. And that is the Lake Country Dockhounds have locked in their playoff position this year.
Let's go.
They are now officially in the playoffs. They are 50-34.
Solid.
They have had their best year ever, and they are a couple games back of the Sioux City Explorers, also of the American Association, for the best record in the league. And obviously that's what I'm talking about. I am not talking about the fact that as of this recording, the Milwaukee Brewers have won 13 games in a row. They came back against Cincinnati.
Down 8-1 in the second or whatever.
And now it's in the 10th. Jacob Mizorowski got rocked. Pitched 1 1/3 innings, but they came back from it. Christian Yelich had 2 home runs, 5 RBIs. Amazing accomplishment. But what we're really talking about is not that 13th win, but that 12th win in a row. Because Shadow Gov is ready to get his free George Webb hamburger.
I haven't been to a George Webb's in 5 years.
That's it?
Well, yeah. I mean, George Webb's the only thing that's open at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you go there and it's 3 a.m. and you're hungry, and so you would go to George Webb's. That being said, the last time I went to George Webb's, there was a stabbing. No, there was a shooting at it.
Okay.
So then I stopped going.
So the last time I was at George Webb's was in 2006-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're talking.
There used to be a George Webb on Marquette campus that...
Based, first of all.
You had to pay before you got your food. It was true fast food, because otherwise there was too many people that were threatened to walk out. I ate there in the restaurant once and got the 6 for $5 deal on burgers a couple of times.
Amazing.
But
amazing that what America used to be at one point.
No, and the diner culture.
$5.
Diner culture is passe now. Now, growing up,
bring it back.
I went to George Webb's a lot. I would go there. It was really close to my middle school, so sometimes my dad and I would go before school and would go there on our way to fishing or hunting. Growing up, so I did frequent them, and a couple of eggs, hash browns, maybe a pancake, maybe some bacon. That was a good deal.
My classic is the classic breakfast, but then just a few some cheese curds, as well. Because you got to.
Yeah. And I knew the George Webb as the place where you could go as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid and smoke cigarettes because you still had smoking in them.
Yeah,
and that waitress
before the ban
did not give a shit who was in there smoking. But you're going to go and get you're going to go and get your free burger. I am not. And it's just because I'd like George Webb's for what they're doing. It's a great story for the city. I've only been to one Brewer game this year. Feels a little disingenuous of me to get that free burger, not being the biggest Brewer fan. No. I want the big Brewer fans. I want the people, the diehards, to go get their burger first.
Did you see how much meat they got?
Yeah.
25,000 pounds.
Amazing.
100,000 burgers. I think they can spare one. for you.
I suppose. Maybe you'll talk me into it.
No, fully. I hope everybody within the sound of my voice and those within 400 miles of southeast Wisconsin, that's everybody in Wisconsin, takes full advantage of free George Webb's. So it's like next week or something.
Yeah,
so,
but you hear about the guy out of Brookfield who tried to take advantage of this deal a little early. And I want this story to be fake. It just does. It seems like such a troll and so delusional that it has to be fake.
It seems like it's a marketing ploy almost.
That there was a man in Brookfield who showed up to the game where they were going to win their 12th in a row in like the 7th or 8th inning, demanding his free burger.
I mean, I appreciate the energy, but if everyone was like that, George Webb's would be out of burgers in like 2 seconds, and then no one gets burgers. They got a plan for this stuff.
So this guy went to the Brookfield George Webb, thought he would beat the rush, went to the restaurant on Wednesday.
He would beat the rush.
Called 911 after saying he was pushed out by staff there. According to the 911 call, the man called for an emergency help mid-afternoon Wednesday. And according, again, to the transcript, are George Webb supposed to be giving away free hamburgers today if the Brewers win? The man asked the dispatcher. Sir, are you having an emergency? The dispatcher responded. Yeah, it's an emergency because George Webb, people just pushed me out, the man replied. After getting the man's name, dispatcher asked him if he wanted the officer to come by. He said, yeah, because we're supposed to get free hamburgers if the Brewers win. They're winning 12-5. He replied, okay, all right. I'll have an officer come and speak with you, sir. I just want to make sure you know the Brewers game is not over yet. So they probably why they aren't giving away free burgers, the dispatcher said. It's only the 8th inning right now, but I will have an officer come and meet with you, okay?
Oh, my gosh.
The man was gone by the time the police arrived, so officers did not get a chance to have contact with him, the town of Brookfield Police Chief Chris Perkett said.
Imagine wasting police resources on George Webb's call about burgers.
If there was one thing wasted in this article, in this story, it was probably that guy.
Well, yeah. He probably drove there too.
Yeah.
Unlike, we probably need the police at the George Webb's that I attended to, which,
had a stabbing.
Had no shooting. But yeah, congratulations, Brewers.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Milwaukee.
What a time to be a Brewers fan. What a time to be watching them win these games in a row. They put in two win streaks together.
Here's your 5 feet of water in your basement. Here's your free burger.
It's a free burger because the Brewers are surviving on pocket pancakes and the power of friendship. And
also the fact that the Brewers almost did it twice.
Yeah.
Imagine if we got 2 giveaways. Oh,
I think there was talk of this. Like they're insured for like one a year or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But this is the first Brewer team that could have done it twice. And I think, maybe it's Bob Uecker magic. Maybe it's pancake magic. Maybe it's Andrew Vaughn praying to Jobu.
It's all of the above.
But it is a fun time to be a Brewer fan.
Just ride the wave. Ride it out.
And with that, what an episode. That's a wrap on this one. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to drop us that 5-star rating where available. Show notes can be found on our Substack, newfashionconservatives.substack.com. Make sure to sign up there if you're the first to be alerted about all our new content. Follow us on X at New Fashion Pod, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube at New Fashion Conservatives. Send us memes, feedback, hate mail, whatever you got, to newfashionpod@gmail.com or text us via the Spotify app found right on our page there. And with that, let's hope the Brewers keep winning and we keep getting burgers.
Let's go, Brew Crew.
Good night.